Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me say good evening, everyone. It is a just a pleasure to join you tonight. I am just grateful for this opportunity. I'm humbled by it. Um, Sister Porter, she knows that I usually cut her off as she begins to give these wonderful words. So it's a little awkward, but thank you so much, Sister Porter, not only for your kind words, but thank you for this invitation. She reached out to me. She reached out to me early April and said, Pastor, what are you doing on Monday night, June the 10th? And I didn't even know what I was doing the rest of that week, but I agreed to do so. And so it's just an honor and privilege to share with you, to the founder, Ms. Rames, to the board president, Ms. Malvern, to our vice chair, Sister Tillman, to all board members and council members. And I think we have even a few members from Messiah in East Orange joining us. Let me just say good evening. Just an honor and again a privilege to share with you. So I was told just to share no more than 15 minutes, and that's difficult for a Baptist preacher. But for Monday night, we can make it happen. We can definitely make it happen. But I am first of all encouraged by this organization that I was unaware of until having a conversation with Sister Porter. About you praying, not only, I believe, weekly and then quarterly, teachers who pray. And so I was raised, and as I was doing a little research, it just brought back fond memories of those teachers who had an impact on my life in the Dayton public school system in Dayton, Ohio. And oftentimes, when I would have to stay after school for extra work, they always mentioned God. God was always a huge part of my life and my upbringing, starting with my home and then also in the school system. So for me, it was something that was always familiar, and the majority of my teachers shared their faith. And oftentimes they would say to me, I'm praying for you. And I thought it was one of encouragement, but I think because of my behavior, they were saying, I'm praying for you that God changes who you are. So I guess the prayers worked. But I want to share something with you, a very familiar passage of scripture. And I just like to sort of expound upon it, and then I'll bid you all good night. Psalm 23, you know it, written by King David. I just want to read the first two verses and then the beginning of verse number 3 from the New Revised Standard Version. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. And verse 3 says, he restores my soul. Verse 3 says, he restores my soul. And so just for a moment, I want to talk to you about recess. Recess. That was the favorite class that I had in school, was recess. I know it wasn't a class for some of you teachers, but recess was what I looked forward to. It was that point for me during the day when, after the math class and the reading class and history class or English class, I knew that lunch was coming, but then after lunch would be a chance to have recess. That's when we would be able to leave the responsibilities in the classroom. That was after we had eaten lunch, and we'd be able to play. We'd be able to rest. We'd be able just to enjoy ourselves. And it seems as though in this day and age, as we have grown into mature believers, that we don't know how to enjoy recess. Our schedules are jam-packed. We wake up thinking and we go to bed thinking. As a matter of fact, while we're sleeping, many of us are thinking about what we have to do, thinking about the tests that we have to give, and then grading those tests. We're thinking about the children that we have to teach, but then also, many of you all, the children that you have to raise. You're thinking about spouses, you're thinking about parents, you're thinking about bills. There's so much that we have to do as adults, and it becomes overwhelming. That's why we need to pray. We need to pray so that we can have the conversation with our Creator, so that our Creator can guide us along this journey, which is what life is. Guide us along this journey in such a way that we will be able to enjoy the experience. My fear is that after doing all that we do throughout our lifetime, that when we reach a point of retirement or we reach a point where we can't do anything else, we can't enjoy life because we're burnt out. Is there a solution for life? Is there something that we can gain, something that we can glean from the Bible? Well, as Sister Porter asked me to do this, I just kept going back to Psalm 23, a very familiar psalm, but as I was thinking about you all as teachers and thinking about your journey this year and how it's coming to an end, I just thought about recess and hoping that you can capitalize on this time that is now yours. I think the average school year is 180 days, 185, give or take some snow days, depending upon where you live. And so there are a few of members of Messiah who are on that I believe are teachers. And I'm always amazed at the enthusiasm that teachers have week one, week two, maybe even for the first month. But by the second month, they're looking forward to Christmas break. Christmas break comes and goes in a blur, and then it's just trying to make it through this school year. Listen, here in New Jersey, most teachers are beginning to wrap things up. There's final tests that are being given, but in just a week, class will be dismissed. Not only for the students, but for you all as well. And I just want to share with you that this is God's opportunity to provide you with recess. David makes it clear. King David, who lived a life that is just so amazing that if I believe that if David lived in this current day and age, that he would definitely have the #1 bestseller on the New York Times, that David will probably have a podcast talking about his life and his journeys, because I mean, it's David who goes and defeats a giant, who is able to slay thousands, who goes from a shepherd to a king, who goes on the run because his predecessor is after his life. It's David. David goes through it all. Who disappoints God but is forgiven by God is David. And somewhere along David's life, he pauses and he is inspired to write these words: "The Lord is my shepherd." We've said it so often, but I really think we don't understand the significance of what that means. David is speaking of his God, the Lord, but he's saying that his God is his shepherd. Those are entirely two different occupations. God sits high, shepherd is low. And David is saying that my God, who I serve, cares enough for me to lead me. He is my shepherd. He guides me. And teachers, to those of you that in some regards to me, that's who you are in the classroom. Day after day, you have to shepherd the students. And I can only imagine listen, I know what kind of student I was, and I know they're still in the classroom. Some days they're willing and eager to learn, and some days they don't want to do anything. Some days your entire job is spent just trying to get their attention and get them to be quiet. Lord have mercy. And David says, not only in the classroom, but in the world, the Lord is my shepherd. That means that he is comparing himself to a sheep who is easily led astray, who can easily be distracted, who can't fend for himself, but God does it for him. And David declares, the Lord is my shepherd. And to all of our teachers tonight, God is your shepherd. God is guiding you. God is leading you. And because God is your shepherd, there's nothing that you need. David says, he's my shepherd And so therefore I shall not want. I dare say that many of you are probably in districts where budgets are being cut. You don't have all the supplies and the resources that you need, but everything that you were lacking, teachers, God has blessed you through this school year. You made it. And so therefore, and I'm not a teacher, but I'll say it, we don't give credit to the superintendent or to the board or to even our principal. No, the credit comes from the one who created us, who guided us, and who is keeping us right now. The Lord is my shepherd, so therefore I shall not want. It changes our perspective that when we look at what we're lacking, but we look at the God that we serve, I shall not want. Some of you are blessed. From your humble beginnings as a teacher to where you are now, I shall not want. Knowing the time that it took for you to go to school, to get that education, to get that degree so you could teach, I shall not want. And as God is guiding you, as God is guiding us along this journey, David says from time to time, he's such a good shepherd that he makes me lie down in green pastures, that he knows exactly when I need to lay down. Mrs. Schnauber, Mrs. Schnauber, that was my first grade teacher. That's why I'm grateful to be on this, because I just have fond memories of my teachers, those who impacted my life. I remember my first grade teacher. I was in the inner city of Dayton, Ohio, and she was a white woman teaching Black first grade kids, and we loved her to death. As I'm older now, I realize that it took courage to be there. It took passion, it took love. But at that age, Mrs. Schnauber gave us her best. So much so I'm still talking about her, so much so I'm sharing her in this message. But from time to time, as first graders, we would just be out of control. And she would turn the lights off. And we all had blankets, and she'd say, lay down. We could not understand it, and we were fidgety, but she knew that we needed rest. And in a matter of minutes, we go to sleep. And just before we got into that deep REM sleep, he'd wake us up and get us back to work. Some of you all throughout this school year, you have the testimony that God has allowed you and made you lie down in some green pastures. You were trying to burn that candle at both ends, and God said, I didn't create you for that. And thanks be to God that our shepherd knows when to lay us down and knows when to provide us with refreshing. That's the drink. That's the still waters. That's the place where I am parched and I'm thirsty and I'm drained, and God refreshes me. Has God refreshed you this school year? Have you reached those dry places? Did you reach those arid moments when you had nothing? You felt like you were in the desert. There was no word, no inspiration, but God gave you rest and he provided you with refreshing. And then in verse 3, he says, he restores my soul. So the end of the school year is approaching. For some of you, it may have already begun. What will you do this summer? That's what we used to ask. That's what we used to say in grade school and middle school as we near the final days of the school year. What you doing this summer? Now, my family and our families, they didn't come from wealth. So if we just had a chance to go to an amusement park or maybe go visit some family members down south, that was on our list. But we had a chance to break. We had a chance to rest. We had a chance to take some recess. And I'm here tonight to let you know that God is providing you with this recess. And so maybe the urge is to jam pack your schedule this summer. Maybe the urge is to do more and pile on more, but maybe tonight I'm just here to suggest maybe go out and play. Go out and rest. Take some time with God and enjoy your recess, because August and September is coming. The amazing thing is, as God has created us, God has created this world, and everything works in a cycle. To those of you, especially teachers, you know the school cycle. And what I've learned is every school year is different. Different challenges, different students. Some of you all have different lessons. It's always different, but there's always an end and then a new beginning. I thank God for using David to pen this classical psalm. This is, if this was in top 5 of Bible verses, this is in the top 3, because the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. The Hebrew word for restore is to return. God wants to return you to that state, to that beginning you had the first day of school. And in order to do that, you got to take some recess. And all of us on this call tonight, besides teachers, the challenge and the goal is to hear God, is to be led by God, is to allow God to provide us with comfort and rest, to be refreshed by God and be restored, to go back to that original state where we are excited to do the work that God has called us to do. The world says don't. The world says keep going. The world says keep going till the wheels fall off. But God says rest. So my brothers and sisters, tonight I'm here to let you know that the bell is about to ring. And you're looking at the clock. Are you excited? I know I am. And it's time for recess. Leave the books on your desk. Allow the files and the papers and the tests to remain. They'll be there in August and September. But for the next couple of months, find your recess in God and allow Him to restore your soul. God bless all of you for the great job you did this year and for carrying your faith throughout this year to be a blessing to your students. My prayer is that God keeps you, God restores you this summer, and next year, next school year, you're ready to begin it all over again. Thank you for this opportunity. God bless you all.